Hey everyone, Greg here from This and That. Another project. Should be a pretty good one too. It's going to take me some time to do. I've had this design in my head for some time. I want to do away with the Craig feather boards. They're kind of a pain to put on my fence every time I have the holes drilled here. I want to do away with these. And also, they hold the stuff down, but they don't hold it into the fence like these Jessem Stock Guides. Those are nice, but they're $300 to $400. They have the other set that's smaller. I like that design better. It's meant for like a small router table. Put a picture of that up too. But those, I guess the problem with both of those are the silicone rubber wheels. They wear out or they turn to, I don't know, jelly. So they don't have a long life. So what I wanted is something a little like the Jessem guides for the router table, but in a beefed up version and something that won't wear out. So, and also I want to be able to use these existing holes so I don't have to put any more in here. So that'll play into my design. So I got the design figured out. I'll show you that in a bit. And these here, you see these are wheels for they're casters for office chairs. They're pretty much the same thing as inline skates, rollerblades, bearing on both sides, skate bearing. But these are really inexpensive and wear. I mean, I don't think you could ever wear these out passing any kind of sheet good underneath it, even sandpaper. It would take a long time to wear them out. So extremely durable. The problem I was faced with, okay, first off, I got to angle them in. Second off, I would need a pair. Be nice to adjust it forward and back, and that's where this fence is nice because you can slide this forward and back. On the Bessemer style fences, you could either add a sacrificial piece and route a groove to put a T-track in, and then you'd be able to mount your system with the T-track. The other issue, I want to be able to do from like 1/8 inch stock all the way up to at least 1.5 inches, maybe even better. Now that would be for running some thick stock through, like already planed oak, maple, something like that, where it could be long and I could be feeding it from, several feet behind and not have to be right on top of it, sliding my hands across it. Then the last thing is to be able to spring load it somehow so that as the piece comes through, it loads up and, you're not having to put you don't really have to put too much force on it and possibly lift the fence up. When this one's locked down, it's pretty firm to the table. I mean, it takes a lot to lift it. So over here, you could have a lot of force. Here you could have a lot of force pushing down. I mean, I'm putting a lot of force on there. Over here, not so much. Maybe 5-6 pounds, somewhere, maybe a little more than that. It's only got to go up so far before it eventually gets tighter anyway. So that was my main concern. The wheels are cheap. I got some bearings. I haven't decided. These are like skate bearings. I think these were left over from my bandsaw, doing the upgrade on my bandsaw. So those. I have some aluminum from McMaster Car. This is 1/2 inch thick, 2 inches wide, and it's a 1 foot long piece. Relatively inexpensive. A couple different springs, some dye springs, colored dye springs, I guess they're called. They're pretty firm. Then I had some laying around. I always try to save stuff like that. These are firm too, a little bigger diameter. Not sure which ones I'm going to use yet. And then I needed a threaded rod, and that's 4 pieces to load up these springs, whichever ones I use, with a thumb screw. You'll see that in the design in a minute. This is 12/24 threads per inch. Number 12, 24 threads per inch. That's about it. There'll be some thumb screws, so that'll be a nice lathe project, making those up. Also, a few shoulder screws or shoulder bolts, another lathe project, and maybe some bushings and stuff like that. So it'd be nice to get on the lathe and make a few parts. As far as the body, I haven't decided if I'm going to use the mill with the rotary table, or I'm going to just drill my holes and use those holes like I drilled the two holes, one for the pivot point, one for the wheel, and section this off and be able to screw it down to a sacrificial board and just cut it out on the CNC router. Just use a 1/4 inch end mill and take light cuts and go around it a bunch of times. That would be I think the easiest, and that's probably what I'm going to lean towards because it'll be faster than setting up the rotary table to swing arcs and do the angles and everything. That's about the gist of it. You'll see in the design, and then I think this will all make a lot more sense.
Okay, here's the design I come up with. I put it on SolidWorks. Not real good at SolidWorks, but it just takes me quite a long time to figure everything out. I did this, this is actually an assembled view, but it'll be exploding here in a little bit. But I have the wheel, a few cap screws, a angled bushing to offset the wheel 5 degrees from the body. I have a L-shaped bracket or lever, if you want to call it that. It's going to be used to load up the spring along with the thumb screw, threaded rod. And then there's a bushing in there. I made that a bronze so that it can pivot a little bit easier. Then there's 2 thumb screws on the back, which will be used to attach it to my fence. Then there's a shoulder bolt that goes through a skate bearing. That allows the body to pivot up and down inside that slot. So there's 14 parts or something like that. It's not that bad. A couple nice little lathe projects to do, CNC cut to do. And then I think the L bracket piece, I'll probably make that out of steel for strength. And we'll see. Might have to pick up some stock for that. I'm not sure I have anything. Here's all the dimensions for the body. And here's all the dimensions for the bracket.
Okay, so that's where the bearing goes on this one. So I really just need a hole big enough here to pass a screw through for now. Okay. Okay, I was trying to figure out how to align the piece, or align the CNC to the piece. And since I have these holes here, these are where I'm going to run my screws through to stabilize it while I cut it. And I thought, well, I'll just lay out these holes in the existing cam file and put a couple little dots here for my screws to line up to, and then suck it down. So we'll see how that works out. This should be pretty quick. Really not sure why it did all that. I didn't think I was doing any peck drilling or anything like that. It should have just went down 100 thou and come back up. But as long as it's in the right location, yeah, that looks perfect. So now let me get this out of the way so I can mount it. Speed it up. Macro 9. Okay, let's get this done so I can clean up. All right. Not too bad. would have done a nicer job on the rotary table, but no comparison in time. You know, I'd have 1, 2, 3 radiuses to cut on each. Yeah, I think this was the best way. Well, maybe not the best way, but certainly the fastest method I have. With that rough surface, that's as good as I'm going to get it. Nice. Not bad. Gotta love parting that stuff. Okay, let's get this in tighter. It's a motorcycle drive-by. Good. location. Select the nut. Okay, all parts are done now. Couple of changes. First off, I wasn't happy with this bushing, or sorry, I wasn't happy with this thumb screw. Thumb screw that's actually a shoulder bolt. So I made another one. It needed a little bit more, something a little more to hold on to, and also the shaft that goes through the bearing center was a couple thousandths too small, so it allowed a little bit of play. So I made 2 new ones of those. These I can use for something else maybe someday. Second, I made my own washers that go on the back side of the bearing, back here on the reverse side of the thumb screw slash shoulder bolt. So that's a nice fit right there. It still gets attached with the wing nut in the back. Really haven't changed anything on that. The bushing that was in here was just a cylindrical bushing to start with. I changed it and made a new bushing that had a shoulder on it. And that shoulder helps to align the flat on this lever. So spring goes on, lever slides down. Also elongating the top hole here allowed it to slide up and down a bit easier. Maybe some of the threads, like from here down, aren't needed, but for now it works fine. Then this cap screw goes in there. The other thumb screw for the tension on top. And to install it, pretty easy. Just line up this cap screw right here first, and I'll probably either make a special hex key that I can use with, just for this, to make it a little easier for adjustment and all. And then the wing nut just goes on the back here. And that you can tighten that up as much as you want, and it should still allow the wheel to go up and down. And that's so much better than that other thumb screw. There's really no play now. So I'll put this one together. Real tight fit. So most of this, will all stay together. When you take it off, it's just you got the wing nut to remove, and then this cap screw to unscrew. That bushing stays captive inside of here. You can get it out if you take the lever off, take the thumb screw off and all that, but for storage and that, it'll stay home. So again, just kind of line up the thumb screw here, and get this going a little bit. My new thumb screws, I made the 1/4-20 threads pretty snug on the wing nut. I made a separate video of that. So I made the tolerance a lot tighter on these. Okay, so that washer that I was talking about behind here, it's not needed. Once the shoulder was trimmed to the correct length, and the diameter was right on the bearing. It's not needed. Okay, so to make this work, put the stock in here that you want to use. Load the springs up about 3 full turns, so 6 halves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's about 3 turns. You can see the amount of thread that's left. These are equal, so it's a good gauge to look at that. Then tighten down the cap head screw, and it doesn't need much, just a little cinch. Well, right now there's nothing on it. It's just barely touching. You see the wheels moving. This is how you load them up, is you loosen this now. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This one maybe a little more. And I can tell it's really sucking it in and down because the friction got a lot greater pushing it through compared to out here. And another nice thing is the wheels being convex, I guess you'd say. They can grab the stock off center. Kind of hard to see from your camera angle, but it's not under it. It's hitting the side and it still grabs it and pulls it under. Say you put it in this crooked, and just so you can see, I'm pushing it with this Allen wrench. Pushed it right up tight, pulled it right tight. And then say you want, okay, here's a 2x4, 1.5 inches, so we'll unload this. Put the stock in there. Okay, this is pretty much the extreme. I don't know if you get much more out of that. Load this up a little. Cinch it down. Unload it. Pulling it right over. That's probably about the thickest stock I would use with it. Here's something pretty thin, 3/8 roughly. It's the other extreme. Load them up. I'll load them up to where I got about 3/16 to a 1/4 inch sticking out of there. This piece is a little bowed too. Okay, so there's really no pressure on it right now. It would just, technically I'd just hold it down. So load it up, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Actually go a little more. Pulls it up nice and tight, nice and tight. The main thing I got it for is plywood. Obviously larger pieces, but yeah, I guess I should say the main thing I made it for was plywood. I got it set to where flush is pretty much unloaded on the spring. Put it in, load it up, good 3/16. Could go more. The more you go, the more tension you can put on it after it's done. I was putting my finger right here just to make sure it's all the way touching. Not really putting pressure on it, just to make sure it's touching the ply. Okay, right now it's just not really doing much. You see the wheels going down when I unload the springs, and you see them bump up when I goes under here too. Up, pulling it in. And I can try. Yeah, I could barely. I'm trying to push it that way, spin it. But yeah, holds it nice and tight. I think this is going to come in handy with those big unwieldy pieces when you're, 8 feet away from the blade, trying to line it up to the fence and push it through. You'll be able to start this corner kind of like this. It grabs it, move it over, and then all your pressure can be kind of located in the opposite corner diagonally, and push it right on through. Try to get you another angle here. You see that? Yeah. Okay. Here again, I'll do a simple, quick setup. Only takes about a half a turn on these cap screws. Stock in, load it up. Unload it. I want to do something with the tops here. Maybe smash them so that these can't spin off by themselves. But I want to make sure I got everything right before I do that. Sucks it right in. Good friction. You could take some of the pressure off if you don't need all that, but it's not really lifting the fence here. And that ain't even really that tight. So adjusting them is really, it's really simple. Unload them, half turn. Stock you want to use, load them up, half turn. Come on. Unload them. Perfect. All right. A little bit of work, but they didn't cost me nowhere near $400 like the Jessems. I think I had roughly 20 bucks at McMaster, I had some cap screws laying around. I had this 3/4 stock 12L 14, so I was able to make my thumb screws for nothing. These casters are, they're kind of inline skate wheels. You could get these dime a dozen. These were for a kit for replacing on office chairs, as I said earlier. The skate bearings, I mean, people have those laying around. If you got a pair of rollerblades, you're going to have extra bearings. Some round stock, some aluminum plate. The aluminum plate was, I don't know, $12 or something like that for the longer piece. So maybe, I didn't buy half the stuff, so I don't know, maybe they'd cost $40 to make, somewhere around there, $35. So I think pretty well worth it. And when you're done with them, you got a thumb screw here with a wing nut on back. You got the one cap screw. That's it. Comes right off. All right.